the first WrestleMania that I watched was, I think it was WrestleMania 15. It was either 15 or 16. Mm-hmm. 17 was the first one that I watched with all of my friends.
Yeah.
But 15 was the first one that I watched. That was when Stone Cold fought The Rock for the first time at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And that was my favorite match for the longest time. That's still one of my favorite matches. But 19 is the best one. Between Stone Cold and The Rock, that's the second time when we end up having the heel turn with Stone Cold, which even he has gone back and said he was just trying to make it work as a bad guy, and if he went back in time, he would have just given Vince the stunner and like just done the heel turn the next night, or just not done the heel turn at all.
He was too much of a fan favorite to be heel.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give him credit for trying to reinvent himself because he felt in his mind that the character was getting stale, and I appreciate that. But it was just one of those things that the fans, they just, even if they wanted to see it, just to see what it would look like as a heel Stone Cold, they just didn't have it in their hearts to boo him. They just loved him too much.
Well, the problem is he was already an anti-hero, so he was already kind of doing heel-ish things, but, like, he was fighting the man, so it was good, you know? So, it was, like, kind of awkward for him to be, like, a heel, because it's like, he's already an anti-hero, like, so what, is he going to turn into, like, a bad guy now? Like,
right, like, he was going, like, as an anti-hero, he was fighting the bad guys and the good guys at the same time.
Right. And it's like, if he wants, like, him being a heel is him, like, literally bowing to, like, the corporation and, like, being Vince's, like, personal bitch, which is, like, that does not, no one wants to see that. That's stupid. That's, like, just killing his character. It's making his character lame.
Right, I was going to say, it's out of character completely.
Yeah. So.
I mean, he said it, too, that he wishes that he didn't do that, but he tried, and it's not his fault. It just wasn't gonna work, and it was just one of those things that maybe it sounded good on paper, or maybe he had it in his head that it would go really well, but just in execution, you can't plan for how the crowd is going to react.
Yeah. Yeah, you know.
But yeah,
especially. Like, again, because the crowd just didn't want to see it. Like, it's just, it didn't work. So, it was a good try, but...
Just close, but no cigar.
Yeah.
And then they had the invasion angle for that, that was a disaster in itself, which had they just not been doing short-term thinking and they had actually just waited a whole year... It would have been great, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
But but that was the first one that I remember. That was the first one that I remember watching fully. I remember my favorite. The first one that I had watched endlessly, that I watched multiple times, was WrestleMania 12. I had just. Like my local public library had I believe we spoke about this before, but my local public library, they had, like, at some point in time, they started getting a VHS archive, and it was all WrestleManias, which I thought was weird, but I'm not going to tell the library to, like, change their selection. So I started renting all of their WrestleManias as soon as I could. I think I would rent the maximum amount of wrestling tapes to hold for the week because I knew that I was gonna watch them within that time. Mm-hmm. I think one time I had like 4 or 5 rentals, and I didn't even know that the library would let anybody take out that much stuff.
Yeah.
But we lived down the street, so it didn't matter. And I think but like WrestleMania 12, I was staying at my aunt's house and we rented it from her Blockbuster, and I like the Iron Man match between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Just that was another one of the best matches that I had ever seen, and I still think that holds up. That match is just incredible from bell to bell, and you really like. I loved how it was the Iron Man match, and the whole match went to a sudden death. I loved that finish. I loved that idea, and you have Shawn Michaels coming down from the rafters. That like, and then Bret Hart like doing, just being the consummate professional that he is. Doing a hell of a match and working a really great match. He was hurt during that time too.
Yeah.
I think he tweaked his knee or something like that, and he needed to get another surgery, so he like took time off after that match. But according to his book, him and Shawn Michaels were supposed to have a moment together after the match. Like he was supposed to get up and like, they were supposed to hug and do like a high and like, do like a celebratory thing so that Bret could pass the torch to Shawn. Mm-hmm. And apparently Shawn Michaels went the other way and like and he was like being an asshole the whole time because, well, this doesn't surprise me because Shawn Michaels in the 90s, he was not the best guy to get along with. He had a big drug and alcohol problem and everything, and he was just. It's amazing that guy was able to even work. Like, there's been a recent interview where Shawn Michaels was asked about, where like Shawn Michaels was either asked or he talked about the behavior, about what he would have done. Like now that he works with NXT as a trainer, he like, someone asked him, what would you tell your younger self? And he's like, honestly, I probably would have fired me.
Yeah.
I would have definitely given myself penalties, and I probably, with my behavior, I would have sent me to rehab, and if that didn't work, I would have fired me. But somehow that didn't happen, and here I am.